Hello. So today I'm going to do a Bible study on Numbers 11, just a short passage from it. Numbers 11, verse 1. And when the people complained, it displeased the Lord, and the Lord heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Lord burnt among them, and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. Aren't you glad that you are not living in the Old Testament? Because God here is killing people just for complaining. Um, so these days, complaining, very, very common. Now, of course, I guess maybe the context would help a little bit. You have to keep in mind that God did a lot for the Jews. He took them out of Egypt, where life was awful, and he's trying to bring them into the promised land, and they are complaining. If you know something about the Bible, you've been Christian for a while, you'll know that the story, the Exodus, that is a type of salvation in the New Testament. The Egypt is the world, and the promised land, that's basically, heaven. So God is bringing you from the world into heaven. That's basically what he's doing for the Jews. He's bringing them out of Egypt into the promised land. So it's a type. So there's a lot of symbolism here. Now, that's not to say like this whole thing's an allegory, the Bible's an allegory, just a bunch of allegories. No. These things happened, but there are still types. The symbolism's still there. Multiple things could be true at the same time. It's something that happened, the Exodus happened, but at the same time, there is symbolism and prophetic references to the future that you can see in the New Testament. There's like multiple layers of truth and understanding within the Bible, and you have to really study it to understand these things. There's multiple levels of context. So here, people are dying just for complaining because God did a lot for them, and they're complaining. It's not just complaining that the food's bad. Basically that's part of the context here, is that God did a lot for them. Now, God did a lot for us too. We're saved, those of us that are Christians. And God got us out of the promised land. I mean, out of the out of the world. We're saved now, right? And even as Christians, some of us want to go back. We want to go back into Egypt. We want to go back into the world. And then we complain that, oh, it used to be better. The old ways used to be better. It's not. You forgot. You're a Christian now. You're not supposed to do the old things. You should know better. But some Christians, they still yearn for the old ways, and some never grow. Some Christians, they get saved and they don't move spiritually. They're just stuck in Egypt their whole life. A lot of Christians like that. God's trying to get us into the promised land. But some complain, and God's gonna punish you. And a lot of Israelites got punished on the way there. That's why it took them 40 years to get over there. That is how much training they needed to be purified, because that is how wicked they were. You could read, it's amazing, like all God did for them. God did so much for the people, got them out, and then all of a sudden they're complaining about how life used to be better. I mean, you could read it here in verse 4. It says, "And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a-lusting, and the children of Israel also wept again and said, Who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish which we did in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes." See? They forget. They have bad memories. They don't remember how awful it was to live in Egypt. They were slaves, literally slaves. That's the symbolism here. You are a slave to sin, and you're trying to go back to the old ways. And you forget, no, you don't want that. Those are shackles of sin. You don't want to be like that. You want to be free from that sin. You want to be a servant of Christ. Don't go back to the old ways. But many Christians still want to go back to Egypt. And we could see that. There's a lot to learn from the Old Testament. You could still see a lot of parallels to the current times. Very applicable. So they're complaining. They forgot. They have bad memories. They don't remember how awful it was. They only remember. They have a selective memory. They're only paying attention. They only remember the good things about their old life. They don't remember all the bad things. In how they used to live. So God prepared a lot of good things for you as a Christian. But a lot of Christians never reach their full potential. They never reach their peak. And everything they can do, they don't reach their full potential because they're stuck in sin. They don't move past their old selves. They don't grow. They have the Holy Spirit, but they constantly grieve it, and they don't grow very far. They don't get very far. They don't grow very much as a Christian because the sin besets them, and they just don't grow. So very, very few. I think hardly any Christians use their full potential that God gave them, and Satan is very good at distracting Christians with all sorts of unnecessary nonsense. And it doesn't necessarily have to be bad things. Satan doesn't have to punish you and hurt you like he hurt Job. It doesn't have to be illness and sickness and all that. Sometimes a good life, that's enough. That is the American dream. The American dream is to have a good and easy life. And that is another way Satan distracts you. He just gives you everything you ask for. You want wealth, money, a good life, easy life. Great. Satan will help you get that. God might allow it to happen. You will get everything you ask for, all the good things. And on the surface, you will be happy. But you will not be doing God's will. You will not be storing up treasure in heaven. And that's it. That's probably Satan's main tactic in America. It's not hurting people. It's giving them an easy life. That's it. An easy life, not serving the Lord. Easy. That is the sin of the modern church. Easy. You can see it everywhere. Unless you are stuck in that system, really stuck in that system, then maybe you can't see it. But it's very easy as an outside observer to see that problem. Anyway, I think that's good for now. I'll continue here Numbers 11 next time. See ya.